Yeah, no, I mean, I love it. My daughter's a millennial. She lives in a simple apartment. I mean, when I was her age, I was like, oh my gosh, we got to get this, and you have to have all these things, and you have to have that. She's like, who cares? Nobody really cares.
Nice.
Nobody cares about what you have, how good you have it, how bad you have it. It doesn't really matter. It's who are you?
Thank you so much for joining us on the Evolve Your Brand podcast. I am your host, Oli Emerkees. I just want to give a huge shout out to the one and only Icon Industries, Shane, Steven, the whole entire crew at Icon Industries. Everything happens because of these guys. They're phenomenal. If you're looking for a fantastic studio that really is going to represent your brand, you definitely got to look them up. Today, we have the one and only Kay Bates. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm very excited to have you. This is the second time we've had the opportunity to be on a podcast. And this time around, it's going to be a little different.
Oh, we got to quit meeting like this.
This is not the only way I want to meet. So lunch date after. So Kay, let's talk about all the incredible things. When I think of Kay Bates, I think about community. I think about involvement. I think about giving. There's just so many things that you're involved in.
I know. It's probably too much for one person. And I just love doing it all. I like being involved in it because I'm sure you know, I'm from a small third world country. And we lived in a village. And what is a village, right? A village is a lot of people working together for us to accomplish some of the same goals. And I think moving here, there's some separation. People here aren't as involved with other people. And I think I've created some sort of a village feeling for myself here. I am part of the community, and I think that's probably the thing that I enjoy most. It's being part of Escondido.
What is it about Escondido that you enjoy so much being involved in?
So the people are probably the best part of Escondido. If you meet some of the business owners here, man, these people have their heart rooted here in Escondido. I know some business owners that have had their businesses here since, they lived here, they went to school here, their businesses here, they have their children here, their children go to school here, they have grandchildren. And to have that kind of commitment and, that kind of fortitude and that kind of just the commitment to stay here. When, you're successful, you can move anywhere else, right? Why Escondido? And I think Escondido does give you that feel of community, of that village.
And that's how come you're such an advocate for it?
Absolutely. Plus, Escondido can surprise you. People think Escondido is Ashen, Washington. It isn't. Come on. Have you gone to, we have lakes, we have like 30 wineries. We have so many things here that people just aren't aware of. But the residents know about it because people go out.
They do stuff.
Yeah.
We were talking about Valley Center in Escondido, and I've grown to be very passionate. The studio's in Escondido, so you're right about the people. It's a sincerity.
Yeah. Yeah, the people are good people. I think if you meet like the owner of Cordiano Winery, oh my gosh, those people they're rooted, they're down to earth, they're genuine, really nice, caring people. And I think, and of course, there's so many other wineries on that strip, but I just happen to know Frank and his family. And so there's so many other people like that, just like that.
Yeah. And what is it about people like Frank? What impact do you appreciate that they're making on the Escondido community?
What I think I love the most is when you have people who, we look at people like they have, people make so much money or they're, they're not approachable or they're not reachable. But I think when people have that clout and they continue to remain humble, that's probably the most attractive thing about having relationships with these people. When they are just as humble, they put their pants on just like you and me. That's something that I think money can't buy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
There's so many people like that exist.
Oh gosh, there's so many people like that here. So there are people who, I don't know if you know Laura, the farm stand Laura.
I
She's
don't.
on.
I will now, though. I
Oh,
will
yeah.
now.
I mean,
I will now.
Yeah, her family's been here forever. And actually, we're having, when I say we, the chamber, we're putting on this fall festival.
Let's
It's
go.
over at, actually the farm stand is sponsoring it, I believe. And that's her family, right? Her business have been bred forever. And you can meet her. She looks like a normal person, but somebody you can talk to, somebody you can have a conversation with. She's approachable. She'll exchange dialogue. She'll give you her opinion if you ask for it. So
I think what I'm very passionate about entrepreneurs, people that are small business owners, because their business is built on reputation.
yeah, just do one bad thing and you'll definitely know. So you're absolutely right. Reputation gets you a long way. And you can ask anybody about like any of those businesses and they'll tell you, oh my God, Coriano, amazing people.
Yeah.
And not just him. I'm just naming him as one of the families, right? But there's so many families here who are very similar.
I appreciate what you're talking about, which is you're talking about families. Families mean everything. I don't call my clients or families investors
that's
or
awesome.
people. They're people.
Yeah.
And that's what I appreciate about UK is that I'm going to share a funny story. So the first time I think I ran across was on social media. It was on Instagram, and you had the tree. And you still have the tree?
I still have the tree.
You still have the tree.
We still have the tree.
You still have the tree. It's living, alive, and it was different. You have a different, you had a different brand. You stood out. It wasn't doing things the way everyone else does. So where does that come from?
I mean, do you want to fit in or stand out?
Ooh, you don't have to ask me.
Yeah, I mean, come on. We have a tree that appears to be a Christmas tree, but we use that tree for every occasion. We want to make sure like a lot of trees give life, right? The symbol of the tree is a symbol of life.
Right.
And we use it to celebrate life. We celebrate Easter. We celebrate Memorial Day. We celebrate 4th of July. Any holiday you can think about, there's a purpose for the tree because it is alive.
Yeah, and that's where I appreciate you being different and doing things differently. So you talked about the Greater Escondido Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
What's your involvement with that?
So I'm on the board of directors
Right.
for the chamber, the Greater Escondido Chamber of Commerce. I'm going in my 3rd year, so this is like my final, it's a 3-year term. And I absolutely love being involved because you get to see behind the scenes, how we can help different businesses. What can we offer businesses to help them grow? It's a volunteer post. So most people, think it's some kind of post where there's something in it for you. It's a voluntary post. We meet once a month. I'm on a different committee, so I meet sometimes once a week with different members. And we're really working on how do we help other businesses grow? What can we do to impact Escondido business owners? What do they need? How do they need it? When do they need it? And that's probably what I enjoy the most about it.
How come that matters? How come it matters for for the chamber to want to help business owners grow the community? How come that's important for you guys?
Well, so every city has a chamber,
Yeah.
right? And the reason why I think the chamber exists is because the city of Escondido and like the city of Carlsbad or the city of San Marcos, every city works alongside with their chamber because they want to make sure that their constituents are being served.
Yeah.
And if we have business owners, you should be able to go to your local chapter, your local chamber, and make sure that they're giving you or they're guiding, visitors to businesses within that city. If you are visiting from another state or another city, you can come in. Our doors, they're open, and find out, hey, where can I get a good hamburger? Or where's a good hotel for me to stay? So it's really providing a service to not just the constituents, but also the visitors that come into town. the city of Escondido, I'm going to keep it specific to Escondido.
Yeah.
So like the city of Escondido, where we work kind of hand in hand. We want to make sure, hey, our people, our constituents here, they're asking for us to either make the parking diagonal on, Grand Avenue so we can fit more cars. So can we go talk to the city? I mean, we don't make the decision, but we can pull on somebody's ear there. And of course, the city can go check it out. They can make a decision and they do all that work. But, it's stuff that, not that the chamber is making governmental changes, but we have an ear. We can go talk to somebody about things that could impact our businesses.
Influence,
exactly.
Influence.
That's really what it is.
It really is, because also you have business owners, I'm encouraging I was talking to my 17-year-old, and he works at McDonald's. I'm really proud of him. He went and got the job on his own and did his own. Yeah, right. Like, I'm like, okay, all right, let's go. He worked that. He hates being an employee and doesn't like it. We have long conversations about it, and I'm like, great. What are you going to do? And I think that's where, the Chamber of Commerce is like, be an entrepreneur, go venture out. I think we're going to have more and more people that start small businesses, entrepreneurs, and everyone should try it, get a side hustle. We talked about affordability issues in California. Yep. How many people do you think should start side hustles?
Everybody.
Say it again.
Say
it again.
Everybody. Don't you think, of course, so some people are more natural born leaders and some people, not that they're followers, but they don't want to lead. Right?
That's okay.
Some people back away from that, which is fine. However, we all have a burning desire to do something. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be like, we all don't have to desire to be an astronaut or be an employee at McDonald's or be anything. We could all have an individual something that we're passionate about.
Yep.
And you can turn that passion into your business. Try doing, what did I say? Try doing something you love and you never have to work a day in your life.
Oh, isn't that enjoyable? What are you passionate about?
Lots of stuff. Oh my God.
What's the number one that pops up in your head?
The number one thing is family. I'm a huge family person. If my family's okay, I'm okay.
Oh.
Yeah. That's my number one thing. And I work hard because my husband works hard. However, I work hard just because I am just so committed into making sure everybody's happy. Like how moms are. Moms like taking care of everybody else. So,
you're such a mom. You are. You're always smiling. You're always positive. People enjoy being around your company. I know I do.
Oh, well, that's good. Thank you.
Yes.
I hope they do.
Family number one. What is number two? What are you passionate about? What makes Kay?
So I'm very passionate about finances.
Okay.
So of course, my business is real estate.
Yes.
But it doesn't have to mean real estate in the sense of buying and selling homes. For me, what that means is helping people understand, I should say, being an advocate for people to really understand what money looks like and what you can do, what you can obtain, what you can do. And again, it doesn't matter how much money you make. People always feel like you have to make so much money to be successful. You don't have to. There's things that you can do. And there's so many of us, we spend money on things that doesn't add any value to our lives, right? And if you took that money and you put it into something else, you'd be surprised what you can build.
Absolutely, and you've done it. I mean, how long have you owned your own brokerage?
I am going on 7 years that I've had my own brokerage.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
But you've been in...
but I've been in real estate for a long time.
Yeah, you've been in the people. But okay, the way I look at it, and I don't know what your opinion is on this, but real estate is about people. It's about relationships.
Absolutely. It's relationships.
That's all it is. Like, I don't look at real estate agent, realtor, mortgage advisor, lenders. It's relationship. It's like... It
is relationships. It's, and being an advocate for people. And I think every realtor out there, that's what you really want to do. You want to be an advocate. You want to show up. You want to pay attention. You want to tell the truth. You want to make sure people understand. Of course, there's, this burden. You want to make sure that people understand the market. We don't have a crystal ball. You can only predict what's happening right now. You can only express, I should say, not predict, express what's happening right now. And, and leave it there. not try to interpret it or try to skew it or, try to give a false reputation of what's going on. And I think that's where the relationship comes in. I meet with people and now I will be as honest and transparent as I can be. And if they ask, hey, should I sell now? Actually, I write an article also for the Chamber every month. And my article this month, that's going to be released, I think, Friday, is on should I buy now or sell now? That's the question. And everybody wants to know. And the answer is yes, no, or maybe.
It is.
It is.
How come?
Because it all depends on circumstances. It all depends on, your reasons, right? Like your motivation. Why do you want to buy right now? I mean, should you buy right now? It depends. How much money do you have? Where are you thinking about buying? What are your goals? If you don't have any money, then, I mean, there are resources, but how much resources do you need? So and you can. There are things where you can buy without I also run a caravan in Carlsbad every Wednesday. And we had a guest speaker today who spoke about cross-collateral financing.
Yes.
Without any money out of your current home, and you can buy a house. So, I mean, the possibilities are endless. So should you buy right now? It depends. Let's have a conversation about it.
Bingo. And I think that's the most important thing when you see things on social media and everyone's saying it's always a great time to buy. That's a sales pitch.
Right. But it is always a great time to buy. It is. It truly is always a great time to buy.
I love it. Let's talk about this.
Because real estate is always relevant. It's always relevant to the time that we're in.
Yes.
You might think, oh my God, I should have bought a house last year when the interest rates were 3%. However, when interest rates were 3% last year, we had 20 offers over asking.
Thank you.
You were buying a house. You didn't do your home inspection because you had to waive it, right?
Right.
You had to waive that. You waive your appraisal. You gave the farm up so you can get this house now that you really didn't like to begin with. But because, people follow people and they saw, I stood in lines to show houses. That's how crazy it got. Now we don't have the competition.
Yep.
Now, we're still getting some multiple offers because, of course, we have no inventory, but interest rates are a little bit higher. But guess what? You can actually now have your appraisal. You can do a home inspection. You can do your due diligence. You can make sure this home is for you. And of course, you have to make sure you can afford the home.
And you said the operative word. You just have to make sure that you afford the home, and that's where you have to have your finances in order, which you said was the second most important thing. And Kate, that's since we went on the real estate, that's the number one advice that I have for families that are looking at home ownership. Start with your finances. Really dig in and see where you're at and put a plan together.
And I wouldn't even just narrow it to buying a home. Your finances should be first and foremost over anything. Buying a car, I'm pretty cheap. Like, I'm frugal. I'm not cheap. I'm frugal. And I will research the hell out of anything before I buy it. Like 1,000 ways, because I want to make sure I'm getting what I'm paid for. And on top of that, do I really need it? Should I buy it? Is it going to lose value when the time I buy it to, the life expectancy of what I'm buying? And most people don't look at that. Like, I'm not an emotional buyer.
Yep.
Emotional, like, okay, where do I want to eat tonight? Maybe that will be an emotional thing. But when it comes to things that were, you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars for, or a car, 30, have you looked at the prices of cars?
Oh, have you looked at the interest rate of cars? Forget about the car prices. Look at the interest.
Look at the interest rate. It's just ridiculous. So if you're going to do that, you have to look at your finances. Don't just think, you know what, I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to do it. Have a plan. I always say, you've got to put pen on paper. You got to have a plan. You got to figure out how much money I'm making. What am I left with? What am I saving? Most people don't pay themselves.
Cash flow.
You've got to have that, and you got to pay yourself. I make sure, like, we pay ourselves. You put some money away, And you're not just putting money away just because you want to buy something else, but for a rainy day. Most people don't have, if you lost your job, not you, most people, they don't have 6 months of where it will cover them. We should have 12 months.
Yep.
Most people don't even have 2 months.
Most people don't have 3 months of emergency fund.
Exactly.
And first-time homeowners, that's the first thing that we talk about is set up a 3-month emergency fund and start working on building into 6, 9, and 12.
Yep.
Because if for example, let's talk about what happened during COVID.
Right.
How come we had so many forbearances? Because most people didn't have a emergency fund.
Emergency funds.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I like that you're being an advocate for the finances, and you're absolutely right. It's not just about home ownership. It really is about understanding, and this is where it starts in the schools. So,
Gosh, yeah. That would be a place to start. Kids they don't even know. What's a checkbook?
they don't know how to do an interview.
They don't even know. Oh, gosh, yeah. They don't even know how to do an interview. They don't know about a checkbook. They don't know. I mean, I'm like, those are things we should really be teaching our kids. You know, before you look at your phone, they see how much money they have on the app. They don't even look to see, well, I just had food last night. Did that clear? I don't know. They're just, oh, yeah, it says I have this. Oh, Mom, like, they just charged me $39 for overdraft fee. What?
Yep. And when you add that up, times 10, that's $390 a year.
Yep. I mean, it sounds small, but I'm telling you, every penny counts. That's why
this is, you know, that's how come I'm a little surprised that you started talking about finances, because I don't normally attach the two together, because for me, a majority of the real estate agents I work with, they're focused on the property and showings and marketers and those types of things. It's not a focus on finances.
Right. I'm focused on financing. That's the biggest thing. And I don't mean, when I say financing, I don't mean getting a loan.
Yeah.
I mean, let us talk. What do you do? Like, how much money do you make? You know, what kind of bills do you have? What's your debt? I have people, and actually I just had a client, they live in Hemet, and they are in a really nice community. They're renting a house and they want to buy a house. And so we've been talking. They make great money. They have great credit. And the husband called and he goes, yeah, we're going to call that lender and we're going to talk to them. They have a lender that they're working with. And I said, cool. I said, now, is everything still the same like we talked about? He goes, well, we just went out and bought that Ford truck. And I said, oh. I said, you know, we might have to revisit this, because that truck is probably just going to kick you out of the whole thing. It's brand new. He goes, yeah, it's brand new. I said, yeah, that's the problem. I mean, you get the house first, then you go get the car.
Right.
You know,
right.
I've had a client do that there in Atlanta. They're moving to San Diego, and she called me up and she goes, yeah, I just traded in the Mercedes. We got a Maserati. I said, wow, I think you're going to be sleeping in that Maserati.
Yeah.
Because you can't buy a house.
Times have changed. You know, I've seen this article where it talks about interest rates in the 1980s, 1990s. Let's look at home prices in those years. They're not what they are today. So you can't compare apples to that. That's not comparing apples to apples.
But it's relevant, though. And it's relevant because people are making more money now.
They are.
People aren't making $30,000, $40,000 anymore. I have buyers who are, I mean, they're making some serious money.
Absolutely.
They're making $200,000-$300,000 a year. I don't know, who most of these people are working for.
Yeah.
But the buyers that are in the marketplace right now, they're making money.
They are. Because if you can afford this mortgage payment, you are making money.
Okay.
And then
I'll share this with you. I do property management. We just put a house on probably about a month ago in Valley Center. Yeah, actually the beginning of August for $5,200 a month.
Right. I was going to say over $5,000.
We got it rented.
Absolutely.
There was no argument.
And it didn't take long either.
No, it was rented in 4 days.
Yeah.
There were several people there, and I think several people looking at it at the same time, which, you have to create a buzz. So you want to make sure there's more than one person at the same time. I'm sorry I'm sharing that. Right. But it creates urgency on the part of some people. And this family was like, oh my gosh, we want it. So let's see if you qualify for it, And these people were making like $30,000 a month.
Yeah.
So, and the wife didn't work.
And I think you just brought up a very important thing, which is people wonder how come home prices continue to rise because there's people that can afford them.
Oh, plus we have no inventory, right? So you have no inventory, things go up. There's an article that came out in the San Diego Union Tribune that our housing prices here in San Diego County is where it was in 2022. That's high.
Yeah.
Our prices are high. Now, how do you get them to go down? I mean, unless if you push us into a recession, the Fed's going to raise rates again. They probably will. They'll probably raise it twice again, right? Who knows?
Absolutely.
And what is that going to do? It may push some people. It will create a smaller buying pool. That's for sure.
It will. And what is the solution? I mean, you've been in the industry for a while. What is the housing supply issue? A lot of people aren't selling their houses because they're locked into low interest rates.
Right.
So what is the solution?
Man, we need more housing for
Definitely.
sure. But I mean, we are nationwide, we're about 4 to 5 million homes short.
Yep.
Right. And of course, people want to live in California. As much as they say how many people have moved out of California, we still have like 40 million people that live in California.
Just as many that move here, and there's a pent-up demand for housing.
And then people need housing.
Yes.
And rents are high. It's not like you're paying, $1,200 a month for rent anymore.
San Diego's behind San Jose as the second most expensive.
San Diego is, yes, and nationwide, the third or fourth highest in the nation.
Yep. And that's not going to change.
No. People want to live here.
Yes.
So I think San Diegans have to get used to the fact that, okay, we live in an expensive city. It's probably going to be like this for a while unless we go into a recession and the bottom falls out, which, the bank has learned how to deal with foreclosures now. So we're not going to see, people are always hitting me up. Is there any foreclosures? We're not going to see any foreclosures. It's just not going to happen. If there are foreclosures, it's going to auction.com. It's going to go to Zoom. It's going to go to Hubzu. It's going to go to a couple other platforms where they're wholesaling it off to them. It's not going to come on the market. It's not going to go. I mean, unless it's a bank on the East Coast that have onesie here or onesie there, and they don't have that huge portfolio. But we're not going to see. We have a couple NODs, but a couple of people who have defaulted, and those people are digging their heels in. They don't want to sell. Yeah. So, are they going to foreclose on them? I doubt it, but we won't see it because they're going to package that house.
Kay, you've I don't know, I'm sure in your 20 years you've been involved with these foreclosures. It's not like people leave the house in great condition.
Well,
do you see what I mean? It's like,
when we were going through 08, 09, it was insane because I never thought you would see where people took toilets. People ripped out electrical wiring. But I don't think people will do that today.
Absolutely not. What I'm saying is
they were charged.
Yeah, those homes aren't going to come. I mean, you're not doing a conventional loan on those homes anyway.
Right.
So you have to get alternative financing. I think that's, when we start talking about this, I think that the real issue is how do we actually build more houses?
How do we build more homes?
How do we build more homes? That's the ultimate solution. That's what we need to talk about.
We need we need the county to loosen some of our code restrictions.
Right.
They passed SB 8, they passed SB 9. There's voting going on right now regarding, I think, Prop 13, Prop 19. We just need them to, all they're saying is pay for the permit. We'll allow you to put 2 ADUs on your house. Well, let us really do that.
Yes.
Escondido was that's the one thing that the city here is a little difficult to work with. It's very hard to, it's, the bureaucracy, right? Getting through the paperwork, making sure everything's got, I's dotted, T's crossed. But come on, loosen up a little bit. Let's just put a manufactured home in the thing or put an RV if somebody wants to put their kid to live on their property.
Okay, more housing solves affordability.
Of course.
More housing solves affordability. It's not that difficult. Interest rates are high. Let's create more housing.
Create more housing.
Create more housing. Interest rates are high.
But
more housing.
You have the bureaucrats in place, regardless of who. But you still have to go through the red tape. You can call. I sell land. I have a couple lots of land for sale right now.
I love it.
You can call the county. you will speak to 5 different people and you'll get 5 different answers.
Yes.
Why?
I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I have a guess.
Well, I think because they don't know what they're doing. That's it. Like, you're telling me if I have a house right now and I have a 10,000 square foot lot, a quarter of an acre lot, right, that I can actually put an ADU on it. And I call you and you're like, well, we first have to have you do an engineering report. Why? I already have a house. It already went through engineering, environmental. It already went through all these steps.
How come we do?
Why do I have to do it again?
Right.
Just tell me. Bring your architectural designs in. Bring your plans. Bring all your stuff in. Exactly. Yep, that's what it is.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's about money. That's when I'm like, come on, just let people get their permits and let them, of course, have some kind of code so that, we're not all putting, a shack in each,
Absolutely.
And then the whole place just becomes, we start losing value because we're not keeping up with the neighborhood. But make sure it all looks the same. Hey, somebody checked off on it. But if I'm living rural and I just want to put an RV on my property, why can't I do that?
And you also solve housing for multi-generational.
Right.
Because now all of a sudden your kids that maybe can't afford $1 million house, they can afford an ADU that costs $500,000 or $600,000.
Well, you can get an ADU for less.
Well, you can. What I'm saying is, let's say you were going to do house. You have a 1,300 square foot house and you want to put another one. Might cost you $400 or $500, but now your kids, now all of a sudden, see, I think it's what I've been blown away by is how come we're not talking about the real problem, which we don't have enough houses. Everyone says we have a supply issue. What are the solutions to getting more supply? I know we don't have land, but there's a lot of other places that don't have land that are figuring out solutions for housing. I think that's
because
where
they're
the attention.
allowing. I think some of the other counties are a little bit more lenient. They're allowing people to. There's a place that has a tiny home villages in California.
I love those.
Why can't we have? I keep seeing San Diego has a tiny home village, and I'm like, where? Like where? Somebody said Escondido has one. I'm like, Escondido does not have a tiny home village that I know about. Like, I drive these streets. I have not seen a tiny home village.
So you are an advocate for that. I'm an advocate.
Absolutely. I'm an
advocate for housing.
Add some more. So, I mean, my son needs a place right now. I'm like, come on.
Oh, there you go. See?
I mean, I have a niece who's renting and paying a bunch of money. Like, why can't we get places where, you can say, hey, just put an ADU in the back of your house? Or my brother, he has both of my brothers, my one brother has over an acre. He has kids. How, can we just put another ADU on?
Okay, what's funny is I get a lot of those questions. You said, are there any foreclosures coming? And I have a lot of families that ask me, well, what about these off-market properties? And, where are the opportunities for those? And when you say that, I'm like, when you're a real estate professional and you don't have access to those opportunities, what makes you think the average potential first-time home buyer is going to have access to those? Those properties don't come available.
And people have to realize, it's a trap. When you see that, it's advertised online. You'll see, oh my God, get a list of foreclosure homes.
Right.
And they click and these sites, they capture your information. That's what it's designed to do. I'm not sure why consumers think that there is a house in San Diego County for $200,000 and it's only available to them.
Thank you.
If it was, it would sell for $1 million because everybody would overbid it, right?
Easily.
Yeah. So it's not available. And that's what I think it's education, helping people know that, hey, you know what? This house, it really isn't. I mean, I have a client right now and it's funny. It's an older family and they have a daughter, same situation. They want to build something and they want to have a place where they can have their adult daughter live because she's paying a bunch of money and they're paying a bunch of money. And he's like, I need a house that's under $500,000 in San Diego. And I said, okay, so Borrego's out of the question. He said, yeah, I wouldn't go to Borrego because she works in San Diego.
Right.
And I said, yeah, I understand. I said, but I'm telling you, your options are very slim. It's Hucumba. It is, so I found something in Alpine. And I said, there's this little house in Alpine. I mean, I know it's 6 miles off the main road. You got to go through dirt road. And we were on our way there, and he was like, this is too far. He goes, it's just too far. And I said, but it's the only house under $500,000. And so he's like, I don't think I can do it. So the daughter called me back. She goes, I think we need to see that house. I mean, so the problem is, like, we still want choice at $500,000. There is no choice. I mean, reality, if we want to deal with reality.
I give you kudos. I give you kudos for, for being upfront and transparent.
I mean, you have to be. There's no reason to lie to people.
That's it.
They already know. I mean, a condo. Have you ever heard of Pepperwood?
No.
So Pepperwood is a community in Escondido off of Grand. It's 1811 to 1817 Grand Avenue.
Okay.
It's right between Rose and Midway. All right. It doesn't go all the way to Midway, but it's between that block. It's a community that stays 100% occupied.
Nice.
It's all condos, but 60% must be investors. I mean, there are people who bought some in there for $60,000, $70,000 back in 2008 when the market crashed.
Got it. Good for that.
And it's a community, and you can't say a community is not as good as some others, but it's a community where the bus stops there. So it gives access to people who may not have a car. A lot of tenants live there, so people can walk to grocery stores. A 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo in Pepperwood is actually now selling for about $350,000.
1-1.
1-1.
350. Mm-hmm. What's the HOA?
$425.
Sounds about right.
Yep. I'm like, so why on earth where are you getting a house for $500,000? There are no
San
homes.
Diego.
Yeah, there's none.
Yeah. And see, that's the part that I understand how some of my first time home buyers are defeated.
Yeah.
I understand it, and it's like, what do you say? It's not practical. Do you know how sad it is? I've actually started asking some of my families, are you open to moving?
Oh.
Out of state.
Well, you don't have to go out of state. So I will change your mind today.
That's amazing.
So I'm not from this country. I'll share a little bit with you. So I'm not from this country.
You don't need to move out of state. Okay? I love it.
I have also was a flight attendant. So I've traveled to almost every state. I think there was like 3 states I've never been to, because I have not ever been to Hawaii, and only because I believe I came from an island, but I would one day want to see it. But I've been to Barbados and St. Lucia and a bunch of the others. So I'm good. However, I've seen and I've driven as well. I've driven from San Diego to New York. So I've gone through a lot of towns, and I have had the pleasure of driving from San Diego to the Oregon border.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, people just don't understand how rich California is. And what the other thing they don't understand is that there are places that you can actually purchase a property. And I have clients right now, they're first-time home buyers. One of them owns a business here in Escondido. Okay. And I said, are you the type of business you have? You can have it anywhere, right? And he said, absolutely. It just needs to be in a semi-urban town, which Escondido downtown is kind of really urban-y now.
Right.
And he said, because he's an artist. And I said, okay. I said, I'll tell you, if you look at Eureka, there's a little town called Sonora. Oh my gosh, absolutely beautiful. There's so many, and I'm talking about past San Francisco.
I know
past
Eureka.
The Bay Area.
I was going to say, you're going up there, Eureka.
I am telling you, if you were to just get intimate with California, you never have to leave. I've told my husband, I am a California forever. You would swear I was born and raised here. I will eat it up. I love it here. I absolutely love it.
So does there's a lot of people that agree with you. Have you seen home prices?
But okay. So last year we had a client who everything they looked at, they just couldn't afford here.
Right.
They were both retired. And I said, so let's have this conversation about staying in California, but going somewhere else. And they said, let's do it.
Good for you.
And he had family in Modesto. And so I told him, I said, there's Turlock, there's Modesto. I mean, most people are like, Modesto is like an armpit.
Yeah.
But there's nice houses. Modesto, it's close to Sacramento. So if you want to be next to a big city, it's about an hour. And Sacramento has a good airport, so you don't even have to go to San Francisco. And my cousin lives in Turlock, so I've driven, I've seen the houses.
It's very green.
It's nice. It's very green. And this client was like, I spoke to my family up in Modesto. We want to go see a house in Modesto. We sold a house in Modesto, and I have a lot of connections. So I make sure. So it's not like, I will go. However, there's some areas, if I can refer the client, I'll refer them. But like if it's Crescent City, that's kind of like the area that I absolutely love. I will drive to Crescent City. It's 14 hours from here. But I have gone to Crescent City, Red Bluff, Magalia, Chico, any of those areas, and they're a lot cheaper than here.
Yeah.
And you can still, if you were an investor and you wanted to leverage your equity and keep your 3% interest rate, you could buy a house right now in Eureka for $450,000 and rent it for $3,500.
See, now you're going down the path which I'm a huge fan of, which is if you have equity and you don't leverage the equity that you have. Leverage is, okay, so equity is money that you've gained over time because of appreciation for where our current market is at.
Right.
And because of supply, your equity is going to maintain itself because there just isn't enough houses for you to lose equity.
Right.
You're not going to turn around one day. There's still buyers. So as long as you have 7 or 8 buyers, whatever you list your price for, it's only going to take one person. So
still a very strong seller's market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take out a HELOC, even if it's a variable interest rate, rent. Housing is an issue all throughout California.
Yeah.
You buy it with your HELOC, your tenant is paying for it, and now you own another asset.
Now you own another asset. That's going to appreciate.
Absolutely. And there's no doubt about it because there isn't enough houses in California.
And I'll tell you, so I'll throw out some areas for people to look at. There's Redding. I don't know if people have ever heard of Redding. Check the rents in Redding. I'm actually convincing my girlfriend right now because she's like, I want to invest. I'm like, dude, just check Redding.
Get it.
There's Red Bluff. People talk about Sacramento, but check out Sacramento.
What do you say? What do you say to those that say, from an investor perspective? I have a lot of investors that go to other states, and it's interesting that you're talking about investing in California. How come you would encourage your investors to invest in California versus other states that are more friendly towards tenants?
Okay, so I know.
More favorable toward landlords.
Right. So we own a couple properties as well. We have tenants.
Yeah.
And they're here in California. And yes, California is more tenant friendly. We all could agree to that. However, I think, again, like you said, real estate is relationships. Mm-hmm. It is the relationship we build with our property managers and the relationship we build with our tenant if you're self-managing. A lot of mistakes that I think a lot of investor makes, they don't want to spend the money to hire a property manager. They want to do it themselves. That's a trap already right there, because then people don't want to admit real estate is emotional. Even if you're an investor, because the tenant does something breaks, you get mad, that's an emotion. You got to pay for something that's broken or not working. It creates an emotional experience. So the one thing about California that everybody knows, our appreciation is bar none compared to any other state.
Especially San Diego.
You tell me a state where you can turn around and make $300,000 on a house in 3 years or 2 years. We have people, if you look at the market right now, there are people who bought houses in 2022 and they're selling. And I am the geek because, when I have clients who call me who just purchased their house, I was like, have you spoken to your CPA? And they're like, why? Because you have short-term tax gains. Well, what is that? Well, see, come to my office. I have a CPA. He'll meet with you. And that's one thing we do as well. We have a CPA in our building. And I'm like, hey, this isn't about me selling your home.
Yeah.
This is about education. These are some of the things you have to know. There's short-term tax gains. Now, you may make so much money that you don't care how much it is, but it's still, part of my job to let you know that these are some of the exposures that you have. California is the best state to invest in. I said, get a good property manager. have a couple of property managers, and I manage my property managers. I mean, there's
because
nothing
you're
wrong
an
with
investor.
that. Well,
because you're an investor.
I'm an investor, and I don't want to have an emotional experience.
You're an active investor.
Yeah. And I don't want to be emotional about it, because these emotions can make you make the wrong decision. It's very, matter of fact, and very, hey, does this make sense? So it doesn't make sense. Let's not get our emotions in a ball. And, I tell property manager, hey, try this or do this, or...
I mean, you're going down the investor 101, which is all of these decisions are not emotional.
Right.
They're not, and I really appreciate the fact the do-it-yourself, landlord, it's risky. Get some help initially, learn how to do it. Then when you think you're at a point, I don't disagree. If someone wants to do it on their own and they have a passion for it, just go get some help. Initially, it's well worth it.
I mean, now there's a couple people I know. I have a young lady right now. She has a really nice house in Oceanside. And she's like, I don't think I can afford to pay a property manager.
Right.
But can you help me? Can you can you fill out the forms? I said, well, I'll tell you this. I don't want to be legally liable for something that I'm not getting paid for.
Yes.
So what I can do, I can provide you the forms. You have to fill them out.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, how much will you charge me? I'm not charging you. There's no fees.
Yeah.
I will gladly give it to you. Then she calls me, oh, can we write this in? I said, I'll give you an addendum. What else do you need? I am there. I mean, you can ask me anything. It doesn't have to always be about making money.
Not at all.
I am trying to help her so that I understand her position. She's not collecting enough rent, so where she's becoming a king.
Yeah.
She's just solving an issue that she has. She finally called me back after the tenant has been in the house 3 months. She goes, the tenant hasn't paid rent yet. What should I do when the rent's late? I said, hire a property manager. That's what you should do. So it all depends on where you feel the squeeze. You don't want to pay a property manager, but when your tenant doesn't pay rent, you don't know what to do.
Yeah. Shortcuts.
Exactly.
Dangerous. Real estate is a dangerous place to take shortcuts.
So, yeah. And I mean, you can't somebody, my coach, I think, told me, the most amount of money you spend is the least you spend.
The most amount of money you spend is the least amount of money you spend.
Yeah, when you want to do something for 1%, you always are going to end up paying 10%. Always.
The shortcut is the long cut.
It's always the long cut. Because there's so many, and I had that experience a hard way. I had a couple who I thought I was really going to help, and they were like begging, can you please just do this listing for us for 1%, because things are really tough and they're really hard. And boy, did I learn the hard way. 1% it cost me money to sell their house.
Yeah.
So you're always thinking like you always think you're going to save some money somewhere. Just, you can't. Things are going to come up when you're trying to be cheap.
Yeah. And Kay, it's interesting. I haven't had this conversation on the podcast ever, and I'm glad that it came up, because to me, one area where you definitely don't want to look for the cheapest solution is real estate.
Oh God. But so many people do. We're in times where owners are getting the most amount of money they've been getting on their homes in a while, right?
True.
They're getting multiple offers.
They have the lowest loan debt that they've ever had.
Right?
Lowest. It's lowest.
So they're making a lot more money. And agents, because we're not good at really negotiating, are negotiating against themselves every single time, working harder for less money and not realizing that this is really a business other than the relationship side of it. Because this is serious when you come into liability, lawsuits. Your commission on 2% doesn't even cover what your exposure is. Why do you do that? That's where, like some of the conversations I have with some of the agents we meet with, we understand, now sellers are more spoiled. Everybody's looking for 2%. And of course we have, the iBuy-in situation where everything's 1%, right? Yeah. Well, the thing is, when you go that route, it's really never that 1% either.
Well, it's either gonna cost you more that's not transparent to you, or it's gonna cost you more in what you sold it for because you got someone that really isn't. Okay, so I find it very fascinating. What is your definition of a real estate agent? Like, what? Everyone's a one percenter. Okay, I got that. What is an efficient real estate professional in your opinion? What do they do to serve? Time? I have time for this. I want to know what your definition is.
A real estate professional.
Yes.
Is a house cleaner.
Okay.
A therapist.
Okay.
A doctor.
Okay.
You're also an attorney.
Right.
You are a performer. Sometimes you have to do tricks. And I mean, there's a long list of
master
everything
negotiator.
Those are on top of everything else.
Yeah,
like you have to stage.
Marketer, you name it.
People don't see all they see is the house on the market. They don't see when you come in and you bring a crew and you clear the whole house up, you semi-stage it so you can take pictures and have the house look absolutely amazing. And then the seller calls you at 8:00 at night and they're having a breakdown because they really don't want to sell their house and the husband's making them do it and he's taking his job out of state. What would you do? So then you go into therapy mode. There's just so much more. But of course, for the most part, most agents feel like they just buy and sell homes.
Yeah.
I am not going to be that agent. I'm an advocate. That's what I am. I am an advocate for my clients. I want to make sure that we are making sense, that things line up, that when we do put your house on the market, it's represented. I think we have one listing right now where, of course, the pictures aren't our expect excellent photos. And because, of course, it's a triplex with tenants occupied.
I saw the 2-1 and the 1-1 and the 1-1.
And so we can't move tenant stuff. We can go in and touch it and be like, okay, we'll be back in like an hour and we're going to do a photo shoot. You just can't. So we made the best of it. But I tell you, this house is getting a lot of views. It's, and in that circumstance, but every other house we put on, our motto is expect excellence. We want you. We'll never do iPhone photos. We're not doing photos with us in the mirror or, photos where the house is all dark. We want to make sure we represent it. We want the seller to feel a sense of pride when they see their home, listed for sale. So it's just so much more than, it's an advocate, but it's so much more. It's understanding the contract. Our contracts are changing. My God, they just changed in June. Our contracts are changing. We have clear corporation rules and regulations, which most agents, again, they don't understand it. I saw an agent doing a TikTok with a coming soon, and I'm like, dude, agents are getting fined. If you're in California, it's a big deal. And Clear Corporation is nationwide.
It's going to get worse.
Oh, it is going to get worse. And of course, agents are writing agents out, so that's how they're getting fined. But you just have to be careful. And of course, our contracts are changing every time there's a lawsuit. That's what triggers a change.
Yeah. Yep. And so if I was interviewing, in your opinion, what are 2 top tips you would give someone if they're going to be interviewing agents? What 2 questions should they absolutely ask them?
Oh boy. What would you ask an agent? Why did they get into real estate?
Okay.
Yeah. Why did you get into it?
Why did you get into real estate?
I got into real estate because I have an accounting degree. So it's
nice. That makes a lot more sense. I love it. Okay, perfect.
A little different backstory.
Perfect.
And so I got in because I started doing accounting at a property management company. And it's so funny. The owner, Mr. John McKelson, it was in La Jolla. And he would call me into his office, and we had staff accountants. And he'd call me in and say, hey, I know you have these many books. This is what you should know. This is what you shouldn't know. I got pregnant, and when I had my son, he said, this is what I'm willing to do for you. Come in on Saturdays and Sundays so you can have your son with you and work. I mean, and I was married, but you're a new mom. You don't want to leave your son. And work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And so that way you could be home Thursday and Friday with your husband and your son. And I said, oh my gosh, that would be great. So he was so kind and gave me so many lessons. And I left there and I I was a controller at Barone Galasso and Associates. They are developers downtown. And I thought, this is just freaking amazing. I have the penthouse at the top office, right? So I feel like I'm in a penthouse. This suite was amazing we were in One America Plaza. At the time, it was the tallest building downtown. Absolutely amazing. And I just kept wondering, all of this information, like real estate has so many facets. Mm-hmm. The investor side, the development side, property management side, third part. Our economy, 70% of it is made up around real estate. That's how during the pandemic, real estate got to be one of the fields that could go back to work because they had shut everything down.
Yeah.
Everything revolves around that. And then I went to GMS Realty in Carlsbad, and the owner there was pretty much mirroring the owner in La Jolla. And he's like, come, let's talk. And he had me there, him and Bruce Walton, Bill Walton's brother.
Yeah.
And he were like almost once a week, they're like, come on into our office. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what did I do now? And of course, I'm a total introvert. I'm an accountant. My job is to bring these numbers. My job is to know my portfolio. You know, I had Seaport Village, Felicita Villas here in Escondido, the major market in Fallbrook, which I could even tell you how Major Market got their name, and it was pretty much because of GMS Realty, because we kept saying Major Market coming.
Major Market
coming, yes.
Major Market.
I mean, it was definitely,
you mean off of Fallbrook?
Off of Fallbrook, yes, off of Mission.
Get out. It was just Major Market coming. That's how it got its name?
We were advertising it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now you know if you live in Fallbrook, how it got the name.
Yeah. And so just going through that and the people that I was exposed to and understanding the commercial side of real estate. There's, like I said, there's so many layers to real estate that I fell in love with the facets, the different things that you can do. And it wasn't about, how can you make money? I was just in awe of all the layers that you could actually be in. You know, I just was like, I was captivated. I was just like, oh my God, like this thing is so big. And it's a field that there's enough for everybody.
Yes.
You know, so I think that's what caught my attention. I was just like, oh my gosh. And then the owner, Bill Garrity, said, go get your real estate license. And I was like, why? And he goes, you should get it. He goes, I think you would do great.
That was great advice.
And I thought, it was great advice in retrospect, because now I'm like, where is Bill Garrity? But I think he's still in Solana Beach or in China, because I think they started doing a lot of development in China. But
hopefully he sees this. And
I hope so. I actually have a letter on my wall that's hanging that Bill Garrity wrote for me. So I absolutely loved it. I'm always in awe. And the second reason why I love real estate, I love investing. I've done a couple of rehabs. I'm doing a rehab right now.
You are?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I love rehabs. Oh,
we're going to have to go on location on a K Bates rehab.
It's up north. It's not here.
Oh, okay. Well, when you get
But I've actually done a couple here. The one that we rented in Valley Center, I did that with the seller out of state. And the seller was like, just do what you want. And I was like, really? What's my budget? And so she told me, she was like, I'll send you a check. I was like,
Okay, that's great that you have that level of trust. And I'm not one bit surprised, because it's all about relationship. And you bring so many value to the people that you help. So
if anybody is looking for a great rehabber, that's one thing. And I kept saying, my God, I want my own show where I could just do a rehab. I could see a house, and I like ugly houses. Trust me, I've lived in some beautiful homes. My dream house, I lived in Hidden Meadows. I've had an exquisite home. But now, that doesn't do anything for my soul.
I get it.
You know, give me a little old house and tell me that you can't see it any other way. And I'll tell you, my husband and I live in a little old house. I got into that house. I was like, boy, I have some dreams for you. Now our house, we are shabby chic, barn style, farmhouse.
Oh, yeah.
Just turned the whole thing around. He's like, wow. Yeah, I guess
he's a lucky man. You have vision.
For real estate. Let me tell you, just for real estate, I don't know about anything else. And finances. Finances, if you ever want to sit down And I can tell you, so I go back to the old school Clark Howard. Most people probably have never heard of Clark Howard. This guy was a radio show host out of Atlanta. And this guy, all he talked about was how to not be in debt. I listened to that guy over and over. Because when we first came to this country, we knew nothing about credit cards. We never had a social security number. We tried to buy a car and we were denied because we had no credit. And we had our social security number, but we never used it. We didn't know the purpose of it. And so I started listening to Clark Howard. Wow. And Clark Howard has given me the mentality I have today. He's still on, but he's not as great as he was then because things have shifted so much. But he was the old school, talked about if you have, 2 or 3 credit cards, how to pay it all off, why you don't want as much debt. And I ate that up.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. Bad liabilities are bad.
Oh my God. Debt-free, be debt-free. I mean,
especially in San Diego, in California, if you're going to buy a house.
Yeah. Because if you want to take off and do stuff, and bigger isn't always better.
No.
I
actually enjoy I don't know what your comment is on this, but we can make this the final thought. Like, I appreciate the fact that a lot of millennials and the next generation, they're back to this whole simple life. It's not about extravagance. It's not about competing with the Joneses. It really is about finding your happiness, finding out your purpose. And I have a lot of respect for that. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, no, I love it. My daughter's a millennial. She lives in a simple apartment. When I was her age, I was like, oh my gosh, we got to get this. And you have to have all these things and you have to have that. She's like, who cares? Nobody really cares.
Nice.
Nobody cares about what you have, how good you have it, how bad you have it. It doesn't really matter. It's who are you?
Yes.
Now, of course, we go to the extreme with the influencers and all that stuff. And, the reason why a lot of kids aren't happy today because they're looking for likes. My daughter and they don't even care about that stuff.
Yeah. And I think the best thing I started doing is I don't worry about like what other people do. As long as you're not harming anyone and you're putting positive message out there, I'm an advocate for however way people find their happiness. It's all good.
Gosh, yeah. I said
easy.
Live and let live.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. On that note, Kay, where can everyone find you? We're going to put all your handles. What do you have big that's going on that you want to share with us over the next? You're obviously going to start a podcast.
I'm starting a podcast, and my podcast is Ordinary People Living Extraordinary Lives.
Yes.
That's because I have never been somebody who have been starstruck or obsessed with people who have all these accolades. I think that, like you're an ordinary person in the sense of you're not in Hollywood or you're not on a billboard somewhere, but you live an amazing life. So why aren't we finding out how Ollie's living? Like, what did you do to become successful? And I think that's kind of the way that I would like to portray more ordinary people who, he's somewhat ordinary. I have a great friend who's a retired baseball coach and MLB player, but he's such an ordinary, down-to-earth person, and he's living an amazing life, him and his wife and his children. So those are the people I would like to interview them to find out how they got where they are so that other people could see that we don't have to have these movie stars. And we don't know what they're doing when, and they're making $27 million for a TV show. And you're like, how do I compare to that? I'm making, $100,000 a year. So that's one of the things. But people can reach me. I'm on K Bates Realtor and lots of stuff, or just Bates Realty. If you just Google Bates Realty, you'll find me. I'm on Google. I'm on YouTube. Bates Realty on YouTube. Bates Realty on mostly everything. I do like social media.
A little bit.
I love it. I love it.
Okay. I'm so glad that you were able to join us. I had so much fun. I hope you had a great time.
Oh, I had a blast. Thank you.
This will not be the last time. Kay does amazing things in the community. She's involved. She cares. She's genuine. She's sincere. She's an accountant. She understands finance. I respect that as a person that sells money. So, Kay Bates, thank you so much for being on.
It was a pleasure, and thank you so much for having me. You and all the guys, I say thank you, and I really appreciate this opportunity.